Hey everyone, so the Valor Bard is the least popular subclass for Bard in Baldur's Gate 3, so I'm going to show you an overpowered pure 12 build for it. Now, the reason it's less popular is because the Sword Bard is just a lot better in many different ways. But I'm going to be showing you how to make the most out of the combat inspiration that we do get, and you also get any type of martial weapon and shield proficiencies, so it's quite versatile like Bards are. Now, we get to choose a cantrip at level 2 here. I'd actually recommend Vicious Mockery. There's a ring that lets us cast this as a bonus action later on, and Mage Hand, which can throw health potions for our team to keep them healthy, or also throw water bottles to set up any lightning casters or cold casters, which could be us later on at level 10. Now, our level 1 spells that I'd recommend, Healing Word, Thunderwave, this is going to be used for picking up downed allies, and Thunderwave is good to knock enemies off of ledges. Dissonant Whisper can give a target disadvantage on attack rolls, which makes them less likely to hit our team. Now, Longstrider's a nice buff if you don't have anyone else that has it. Otherwise, Fairy Fire can be good to set up advantage on attack rolls. Now, if we got the Hags here, I'd recommend with 17 Charisma and taking up to 18. However, otherwise, I would actually recommend going 16 Dexterity, 14 Constitution, and 16 Charisma. The reason Dexterity is so good is because we only get medium armor proficiency, but there's also some finesse weapons that we can use in terms of longswords that can also buff our team as well. So we got a lot of versatility from the start of the game. If you're the face of the party, make sure you have Persuasion. I like to have the 3 face skills, although Sleight of Hand can be good too if you don't like to swap off. So at level 2, we get the Jack of all trades, adding half a proficiency bonus to anything we're not proficient in, and Song of Rest. This is really great with a Warlock because it gives them another short rest. And we can take another spell here. Bane's okay, but I like to take Fairy Fire. And I guess Disguise Self could be kind of useful because this lets you get Yankee weapons and get the benefits, and then remove the disguise and you keep all the benefits as long as you just equip it with it. Now we're going to be going with the College of Valor here. So College of Sword obviously very powerful offensively, College of Lore also great defensively, and the College of Valor is kind of in an awkward place. But what's cool about their Bardic Inspiration, so they have a special version. It's actually, oddly enough, not listed here because they can actually add the 1d6 bonus to not just attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws, but also weapon damage and armor class. This is where this becomes pretty crazy because a 1d6 bonus to armor class is kind of nice. This means you're much more likely to avoid an attack. So yeah, the Valor Bard's not that bad. Now, at level 3, we get access to some very powerful spells. Hold Person is going to be one of the most essential because this allows you to get critical hits against this target. Very good. And we also get Crown of Madness. This is a really underrated spell because it makes the target attack somebody else. It's kind of cool. Cloud of Daggers is guaranteed damage. It's kind of up to those 3. Personal preference there, but I like Hold Person to set up the team. And then at level 4, we get another cantrip. Minor Illusion's great because you can group enemies together for your sorcerer to then go turn-based mode and drop a fireball. It's just good for stealth. And if you're the face of the party, friends can be good as well. Now, for our next spell, I'd recommend going with either Crown of Madness or Cloud of Daggers. Even Heat Metal can be decent, and Invisibility has its time and its place. Also, I will mention Knock can make Act 2 very easy, especially the Shard Temple, because you can just knock the doors open. Now, level 4, I like to have the Alert feat because we want to buff our teammates up, and being able to, this will guarantee we basically go first in almost all encounters at the start of the game, which is really good because then we can apply Combat Inspiration and maybe take out an enemy so that someone else in our team can go next. Ability Improvement is another good option, however, if you prefer going that route. Level 5 gives us our Font of Inspiration, basically inspiration back on short rest, and it's now a 1d8. We get access to level 3 spells. Glyph of Warding is really good. It's like a short-range fireball, and you can also put the Sleep Glyph at your feet if you're a half-elf or elf, and you won't go to sleep, so it can be good that way too. We also got Plant Growth for concentration-free damage or crowd control, and then Fear for a ability to knock the enemy's weapons out of their hand, and then we can grab them. It also gives disadvantage on attack rolls, which is kind of nice too, but I like Glyph of Warding. Gives us an elemental damage option. Level 6 is a big power spike similar to the Sword Bard because we get our extra attack. Now, hypothetically, we could multi-class and add in the Warlock at this level, and then it's Charisma scaling. We get a few split spell slots, and we get an extra attack if you're not in Honor mode. Well, that's not the point of this video. This video is about showing that the Valor Bard is not that bad, even at full 12 levels. So, next level here, I actually like Plant Growth here. This is cool because you can, if you're not using fire damage, you can set this up to basically stop the enemies from doing like a whole lot of movement, and it doesn't require concentration, which we then hold on Confusion. I really like Confusion. Some people don't. I'm going to explain why I like it. So basically, if you confuse an enemy, they're going to, on their next turn, have a 50-50 chance of either going and attacking someone at random or skipping their turn. And the random character could be your teammate. It doesn't have the highest chance. It's just going to be a random character nearby. But this is a good way to make it so that they take out the enemies for us. Really fun. It's 3 turns long. But I also like Greater Invisibility because this can be really good, especially if you have a ranger on your party, because they can cast Pass Without Trace on you. And then you get a +10 to your stealth checks. And since we get that +10 to stealth checks, This will continually keep rolling a higher stealth check. If you get advantage on dexterity checks as well from like the cat's grace, you can basically stay invisible for like 20 attacks. It's kind of crazy. But we'll roll with the confusion spell here, as I think that this is a really good option. Personal preference there, though, you could grab greater invisibility, and even Dimension Door is nice to teleport you and someone else out. And in Act 3, there's some moments where this is really nice, like the Counting House. Now, feat choice. I'd actually recommend taking our Charisma up at this level, better spell casting. And if you wanted to, you could hypothetically also take a single level of Hexblade to get Charisma scaling on our weapon. Again, I'm just going to keep this to level 12, but that's an option. Dominate Person is kind of a fun spell. Concentration, Wisdom save. It will take over an enemy. But Hold Monster is a better choice here. Cleaner Binding is another fun one. Just Hold Monster can basically make some of the fights in Act 3 much easier. We get 2 more skill proficiencies, Intimidation and Persuasion. And for our cantrip of choice, Minor Illusion, and we get 1 spell and our Magical Secrets. This point, I'll take Dominate Person and Magical Secrets. There's a few of them. So we are really nice because we got melee range, so we could take Spirit Guardians and get up close. We could also take Cone of Cold because we're getting up close. And Conjure Elementals is always a good choice, but we also get the Banishing Smite, which is now available to the Hexblade Warlock, but previously it was an exclusive to the Bard's Magical Secrets. It's a 5d10 of extra damage on her attack, and if the target has 50 health points or below, it's going to get banished away. This is really good. I also like Ice Storm and Lightning Bolt. Those are 2 good spells as well. But I want to add in Spirit Guardians. This is just a very powerful spell. And since we get in close, I also like to take the Cone of Cold. Banishing Smite can be really effective as well. It's such a strong ability, but it does eat up a concentration and a bonus action. Whereas this, concentration, pure raw damage. And since we got Mage Hand, we can double this. So this becomes a 128 damage potential in a huge area of effect, and it makes it difficult terrain. Really good combo here. And at level 11, we get our final level spell slots. Otto's Irresistible Dance previously was irresistible. Now it is Otto's Resistible Dance, irresistible on the first turn of combat. That's really long, so they still call it Otto's Irresistible Dance. What this does is basically the first check always succeeds. So you're going to land this, they start dancing. They then will make a check later on and could make it free from it. But previously this used to be crazy. Still really good though, because if you really need 1 turn of an enemy just being gone out of combat, that's the option. Now, next level, Eye Bite can be pretty fun too, because you hold a concentration on this and you continually put people to sleep every single turn, which is pretty good, but I don't think it's the best choice here. I actually think that it's better for us to go back and take like another support spell like Mass Cure Wounds, which we won't use often, but sometimes in a pinch you just need something like that. Or Silence, I guess. Knock and Invisibility are other good options. And then for our final feat, I'd recommend maxing our Charisma. If you took the Hag's Hair, take it up higher in Dexterity for the better armor class. Now, another multi-class I just want to quickly mention is 2 levels of the Paladin gives you Divine Smite, and you can upcast using your spell slots. Similar to the Sword Bard, although at that point, it's probably better just to play with a full Sword Bard, because then you can flourish and smite 2 people at a time. But we actually got a gear that makes us overpowered here, because since we got Spirit Guardians, we can use the Luminous Armor. This is funny because this can come online pretty early in the game. This would go to our Light Cleric earlier, but basically, radiant damage from our Spirit Guardians will make this proc and make a Radiant Shockwave, which will then apply a huge 3-meter radius, -2 to the attack rolls on every enemy, and you can stack this up to -10 times, and it'll actually stack with the Luminous Gloves, giving even further reductions in the enemy's health. And what's crazy is since we inflicted a condition, we can then inflict a condition with the Boots of Stormy Clamor. So this is all going to proc just by us running nearby, and we can proc this again with our attacks, and I'll show you how. So yeah, that's really good, but we also can make ice surfaces, so you might want to use a boot to prevent that. You can also use Nair's boots in the early game. You can also use the Ring of Free Action, because this will prevent ice from making you slip. Now, this will actually come together. We can either use the Holy Lance Helm, which is really good, because with the Holy Lance Helm, when an attacker misses, they take radiant damage, which will proc our Radiant Orbs again. I prefer the Helmet of Arcane Acuity, because when we do weapon attacks, we boost our spell save DC, which means we can land our spells more freely. It's kind of crazy. Cloaks really don't matter. You can use the Cloak Protection, or if you're the Dirge, Deathstalker Mantle will be the best in slot. Now, if you don't want to do Radiating Orbs, I would also recommend running with like Armor of Agility or any other medium armor. The Yuan-Ti in Act 2 is pretty good. You could also go with the Ballast Armor and use a piercing damage weapon, or the Unwanted Masterwork Scale Mail. And then you'd use the Gloves of the Belligerent Skies, or also the Gloves of Wondrous Gloves in Act 1, which gives you 1+ armor class and 1 Bardic Inspiration, which is really nice because we're buffing the team a lot. This is also put together, again, I'm using pretty much all Act 1 items here. Fowler Louvre. This has the Fowler Louvre melody, which buffs our team or damages the enemy. Again, we're filling our role perfectly and also dealing more damage with this. And since we got martial weapons, we can use this. The Sword Bard only gets scimitars. And we also have the Adamantine shield here. This is a really good shield because when an attack misses you, we send the attack reeling, which is the same thing as our radiating orbs here. So yeah, this will further boost the enemy because they're not going to hit us, and then we send them reeling as well. This would pair well with the Holy Lance Helm because you can stack up both conditions quickly, and then we also can't be critically hit. So we basically reduce all the ways of the enemy possibly hitting us. And then we also got the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel. This is an Act 3 item, so a little bit later in the game. I'll show you some earlier game rings as well. This lets us do Vicious Mockery as a bonus action, which is just a 3d4 of psychic damage and give a disadvantage on an attack roll, which is nice. But we can also use Hold Monster or Hold Person if we're not using Spirit Guardians. And then even things like Dissonant Whispers are enchantment spells. This is crazy. I also mentioned that we got the Ring of Free Action, but another really good choice is the Callous Glow Ring. So if we're illuminated, we'll also do an additional 2 points of radiant damage, which again procs all of our gear. It's kind of silly at this point. And both these rings look similar, but the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel is really good. I'd also recommend throwing on the Ring of Mental Inhibition, which applies mental fatigue on the enemies when they fail a saving throw. The Killer Sweetheart for the free crit, always good. Crusher's Ring for the increased movement speed, another really good ring. And you can also go with the Ring of Arcane Synergy. When you do cantrip damage, which we can get from Vicious Mockery, you get Arcane Synergy, which adds a charisma modifier to our weapon damage. I also like the Snowburst Ring with the Cone of Cold, and the Shadow Cloak Ring is good too. I also have the Hellrider Longbow for the bonus to initiative. You could also use the Gaunter Mail Bow, or even if you want to use Strength Potion, Titan String, it's another option. But yeah, your choice for the bows. Hand crossbows are probably the best choice with the Fire Stoker and Hellfire Hand Crossbow, or Nair Misser. If you're getting yourself into a fight, you can precast Spirit Guardians and the Fowler Loof Shriek, which will add a bunch of extra damage in this area of effect. Then you can also give Combat Inspiration as a bonus action to a teammate. So we got the Shrieking Song on them, which is great, because then we can move a little bit closer and then apply our Spirit Guardians, and it adds the extra damage off of that too. And we can stay out of their attack range. So this is good because not only are we debuffing, but we're dealing a ton of damage too, just passively. And then if there's a target, you can see we did the Radiating Orbs. Now there's 6 stacks on this enemy, so they have a harder time hitting us. And it's kind of funny because then we can proc them to hit us, and we can send them Reeling, which is going to stack Reverberation, which will then proc the damage again. So it's actually kind of funny, but we do want to do opportunity attacks sometimes, because even though we missed, they're now getting Reeling on them, which further stacks up their Reverberation. If they had one more stack, they would have gotten taken the Reverberation damage. But you can see here, 4 stacks, 4 stacks, 4 stacks, 6 stacks. Yeah, we debuff the enemy pretty good here. Now I messed up and I actually don't have any actions on my very first turn of combat, which sucks. Not sure what I did wrong, but I can give Bardic Inspiration to somebody else. So yeah, no attacks in the first turn. That kind of sucks. Oh, we got the opportunity attack, which is funny because it applied our radiant damage twice, because it also applied Reverberation. So yeah, pretty nice and pretty easy. And that's perfect. We got a bunch of damage right. Oh my goodness, Shrieking Song. So this whole combat log here is just one random explosion that took out 2 enemies. And another one that took Reverberation damage. Perfect. So now we got actions. That's kind of funny. Just the whole turn there without actions. If we had Mage Hand, I would throw a water bottle there and then drop a Glyph of Warding Cold on there, which will make a nice surface as well. I don't have that, but I can still do the damage, and you can actually upcast this for a bit more damage. Glyph of Warding is really nice. It's if you don't get counterspelled. It's a short-range fireball, essentially, so that's plenty good. I need to take out enemies quickly because I just got counterspelled, so I want to use Arrow of Many Targets, even though we have disadvantage. I might just attack this target here. And what's going to be funny is we actually debuff enemies with our arrows. That went from 1 stack of Radiating Orbs to 10. I'm not sure quite how that really just happened there, but the extra radiant damage gets applied onto our bow attacks, and it can do some pretty silly stuff, as evident, as you see there. I'm just going to do another weapon attack at this group of targets. 8 stacks of Radiating Orbs, 10 stacks, 6 stacks. So they got 10 stacks somehow, kind of crazy. It seems like it's the gear proccing off the 2 extra damage that we get. Kind of nuts. But the best part about this is we can then just run around and then take enemies out and apply the Radiating Orbs onto everyone in this area here, which is good because this gives us a huge amount of damage without even having to take an action. And then we get a bonus action spell that we can cast. Greater Invisibility is nice if you need to disappear. If we didn't have a concentration, there's a lot of ones that we'd like to throw on, but we got right now the option between Dissonant Whispers for a 3d6 or a 3d4 with Vicious Mockery. I'm just going to go with the Dissonant Whispers here because it's probably going to be enough to take out this target, and it was. We took him out perfect. So even though I have all this armor class, or the Radiating Orb boost, Shadowheart's still getting hit because I have her in a modded outfit, so yeah. We do have one weakness, and that is we don't have counter spells, so that could be another magical secret that you take. But if you have Psionic Dominance, it's once per long rest. You're typically going to have someone else that could counterspell, like a sorcerer or a wizard. So yeah, that's one downfall the Bard doesn't have. Oh, we just exploded another person. It was kind of funny because their turn started and then they got hit with the shrieking song, which gave them reverberation, and then they fell prone. So their turn started, they moved an inch, and they fell. It's actually hilarious, and I'm sad I didn't get it on video, but yeah, typically we want to start, there's a couple more knockdown. We typically want to start our turn by running around trying to debuff as many enemies as possible, because then you know who to attack to get the radiating orbs. We have 10 stacks on all these enemies here, and this one over here is 9 stacks. So yeah, we didn't have to do too much. But we also got a level 5 spell with Cone of Cold. Cone of Cold is crazy because of the range that it has, and it's going to deal a ton of damage. And yeah, you saw it there. The extra radiant damage gets applied twice onto there, which is nuts. And then we can follow up with just a regular old weapon attack. And that was it for combat. It ended a little quicker than expected, but the Bardic Inspiration is just so nice to keep your team buffed up. Every bonus action you use could be that, or it could be the Vicious Mockery, but early on in the game, you're going to be buffing a lot. Crazy. You debuff, you deal a ton of damage. You saw me just solo this entire group of enemies, so yeah, the Lord Bard might be a little bit better than you think in Baldur's Gate 3. Pretty fun class. Sword Bard is better, though. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and I hope you guys all have a great day.